Hi. So today I'm going to cover almost like the law of attraction with the story where it starts. And when I was a young girl, about 10 years of age, I can remember I was so into horses, and all I ever wanted was my own pony. So I remember standing there in the hallway and announcing to my nan, that's it, I'm going to marry a farmer. Not because I was interested in farming or anything like that, but just so I had a place that I could put my horses. She said, "Oh, are you now?" I said, "Yes." So back in 83, I met my husband Andrew, and indeed he was a farmer. One that didn't like horses, but hey, love me, love my horses. And we had been married for 10 years. We married, and what happened then was something that I never thought could ever happen. Devastating news, which turned my life upside down. And I can remember it because that was the year I turned 30. And I remember standing looking out the back window of my house, looking out at these beautiful dogs, because we used to show Japanese Akitas, now known as Akitas only. And I was stood there looking at this and thinking, I've got this beautiful house, I've got two lovely boys who I thought the world of, and still do, and a loving husband who had arranged a surprise 30th birthday party for me, which I found out about. And I just had that overwhelming sense of, wow, I've made it. I'm in a good paid job and I've got all of this going on. How lucky am I? I felt so blessed. And we did. We had a great summer. And then, in the October of that year, Andrew phoned me at work to tell me that he'd received some devastating news, that he'd watched his doctor on the television talk about how he had infected people with hepatitis C through bad blood products, because Andrew was a haemophilia and he needed factor VIII to stop him from bleeding when he had big bleeds. And so in that moment, time just seemed to freeze, and I just didn't know what to do because it was shock and trauma at the time. And fortunately, I had a very good friend I was working with at the time who took me aside, and sort of, I can't even remember what happened next really. I was just crying my eyes out with this news. And so the next stage was, of course, that I too had to be tested, because if he had it, the chances are that I might have it. And if I had it, it meant I would have given it to my boys. Anyway, for whatever reason, I didn't have it, which was great, obviously, for me and for my boys. Of course, we had the feelings of guilt because he still had it and had to deal with it. The worst thing was, at that time, they told us that there was nothing that they could do about it. They actually said, coupled with some esophageal varices he had, that he could go at any minute. Could you imagine when you've got small children getting that news? You just don't know. So we spent probably the next year living our lives in fear of this thing and all the upset that was bringing. We made a few radical changes, because at the same time as I'm getting this news, I also found out I was pregnant again. That didn't last. I lost that pregnancy. And we just decided that all we could do at this point was to keep ourselves as fit and healthy as we possibly could, to make sure that he was going to be accepted for anything that came along. I researched a lot of things to help keep the liver going and functioning as best you can do, because it's in there fighting this disease. And we spent a long time just trying to pull ourselves out of being in this stressful state. We tried our best to make sure that the boys didn't experience this, because we wanted them to have a nice childhood. We didn't want them to think back and the day that Dad was sick and how that then affected them, and carried on as best we could. Now I know what I know. I know that children are sponges, and no matter what's going on at home, to a degree they're picking up something, even if they don't know quite what it is. But we did our best at that time to do what we could. And so this series of videos that I'm going to share with you here on YouTube, to share my journey with you, to show you and tell you what I did, so that you can make some decisions for yourself if you're going through anything similar at the moment. My husband died 4 years ago. And the way I look at it is I had 20 years longer with him, because we were 31 years married by the time that he passed away. And yes, he had treatment. Eventually that did come along, and he was cured of it. But of course with that, the side effects and what they've done to the body, we had to cope with that. So the first thing that I did, which I'll leave you with today, is that I started doing a lot of reading into death. It used to drive him nuts. He'd be buying me the Bridget Jones diaries and putting them under my nose and saying, for God's sake, read this, it's going to be better for you. But I was fascinated. I thought, I want to know where he's going if he dies. So I went looking. And actually, looking into death, it opened up life. It opened up that we are energies, we are a spirit having a human experience. I read books like Many Lives, Many Masters by Dr. Brian, what was his name? Up West, I'll post it below. The Celestine Prophecy, that was a big one. And how these things happen. And sometimes even these awful things happen to put us on a journey. Of course, we never feel like that when we're going through it. I mean, at the moment, we're all coming out of COVID here in the Isle of Man. We're COVID free. We have been now for nearly 80 days. But the after effect of it and the turmoil that it's causing, there'll be a reason why we're going through it, even if we can't work that out for ourselves right now. So that also led to looking at crystals. And I think with them too, it was more about holding on to something. But it was fascinating to know the colours that we picked and how they represented the feelings that we were going through at the time. Shush, Ruby. And coupled with all of that, that got me out of the office job. We'd started our own business together, working in a pet shop, trying to stay together and spend as much time together. But that didn't work out either. But I was doing massage therapies and looking into this sort of thing, and it's all led me to being here with you today. And now I help other people heal the pain of their losses with the grief recovery method with my business Life After Loss. So I hope you'll enjoy the journey and share anything from it with anybody else that you feel might benefit. I think it would be absolutely amazing if you would click the subscribe button and follow me, because my aim is to post on here 2 times a week, thinking Monday and Fridays, and so that you can follow the journey that I'm going to share with you. I hope to see you soon. Bye.